Hyvää huomenta. And now, no one who speaks Finnish is not allowed to answer, so only for the English-speaking guests. Hyvää huomenta. It's a learning experience. So welcome to the last day of the Innovation Summit. Have you been enjoying? Yes. Great. And the dinner yesterday, not bad. Amazing. I'll send my best to Linnea as well. We are starting with a opening speech by. We've been discussing a lot about the. Actually, I was discussing with one person today who was at the EPP. There's an European Parliamentary kind of like conference meeting in Helsinki at the moment, and I was discussing with one person who just came from there, and what she said is that it was 95% middle-aged men, and unfortunately that's quite often the role in many of the education events as well. There's maybe a bit more female audience, but still it's kind of like middle-aged. And what is lacking is the student voice. So that's one of the reasons why we want to be working hard on increasing the role of students and really listening to them and really give them power to have some kind of influence on what we are doing. And that's why the opening speech of the last day will be given by Jordy. And before I'll ask Jordy to the stage, I must say that I really appreciate and love, for example, the negotiation skills. Because we were discussing with Jordy and says, I can give you roughly about 5 minutes to open up the last day. And she said, is that 10? I said that it's a tight morning or whatever, so 6. So okay, let's agree on 6, but I might go over by 2 minutes. So it was quite beautiful. So with these words, Jordy, welcome to the stage.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. It's great to talk on the last day because I met so many of you that now I feel comfortable and it feels like I'm talking to friends and family. So, as I hope most of you know, I'm Jordy. I'm the director of this film, The Student Voice, which you should watch the whole film because the part that you saw was just the conclusion. And you can find the whole film on YouTube as The Student Voice. And today I'll be talking about something that I feel like as adults we tend to forget. And I say we because as I am progressing and I am growing, I'm also turning into an adult. And it's learning. And let me explain. So I've taken a gap year this year to understand what it means to be a teacher and what it means to teach. And so I'm now currently teaching English to preschoolers at a Montessori school. And as most of you will know, it's really hard to grasp every student's attention. And I work with 3-year-olds, so it's a huge challenge. Everything I do is through play. I will not teach without play because they won't pay attention. And I feel like that should never end. Even though we are adults, we should still be learning through play. So I have a question to get this idea flowing. I want you all to lean over into the seat in front of you, cover your eyes, or find a way so you won't peek like my little 3-year-olds. And I want you to raise your hands if at any point during the presentations at the summit you took out your phone or got distracted or did something else because of boredom or any other reason. Be honest, raise it really high. Okay, now I want you to look up and look around you and keep your hands up, please. So here's the thing. We are supposed to be the educators of the future. We are passionate about education, right? And we didn't manage to grasp the attention of other people passionate about education. What does this say? That we're missing a little speck of what's going on in our learning. And I know I'm just a student and I've never conducted research and I don't know much about life yet. But I do know something, and it's something I've grown up doing, and it's learning. And so I want you guys to think about that. So I want to do another exercise or an experiment. I want you to think about a time in your life where maybe at school you tried learning something you were interested in, but you just didn't learn it, even though you were interested in. And I learn with examples, so I'm going to give an example. I really have an interest in learning history, because I think it's really important to understand our current society. And I always left my classroom forgetting everything I'd just seen, and it felt horrible. So that's something I had an interest in, but I never really learned it fully, as much as I would have liked. So, has everybody thought of something? Yes? Okay. Every time I give an example, it's going to be in the space so you guys can also think about it. You don't have to listen to my example, just think about your own experience. Now I want you to pretend that you know that subject, that theme, that topic, and that you're going to teach it to students. Imagine the situation. How are you teaching it? What do the students look? Are they engaged? What are they doing? Now put that scene aside. We'll come back to it later. Now I want you to think of something you've learned so well at some point in your life that you can teach it. Because as we know, teaching something means that you really understand it. If you can teach it in a simple way, it means you understand it. And if you're a teacher, don't think of something you already teach on a regular basis. Think of something you know that you could teach at some point. And it can be anything from a time in history to playing an instrument. Now that you have that, think of what made that learning deeper than the time where you didn't learn it, even though you were interested in it. And I'm going to give another example. My learning is playing the French horn. And even though I play the piano, I feel I'm more confident in the French horn. And the reason behind that is because I was put in the orchestra, and my love for playing with the orchestra was so strong that I wanted to stay there. So I was up in there learning in the orchestra. Now, bring back the time where you taught, that imaginary scene where you taught something you didn't like, and bring over here that deep learning experience. Now I want everybody to stand up. Keep it moving, it's still the morning. And now turn around in your spot. If you're in your imaginary scene, you taught this lesson, this imaginary lesson, with the properties of what made this learning deep. If you did or didn't. Well, no, if you didn't do it, turn around in your spot. Full circle. And I'm going to give another example. So mine was history. And I taught in my imaginary scene with a presentation, a video presentation, and then had a discussion in the end. But the properties that made this learning deep, my French horn playing, was that I was in the band experiencing the music firsthand. I wasn't doing that in my lesson. So I'm going to turn around in my spot. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm trying to get at. We grow up learning. You guys can sit down if you want now. I think we can all agree that learning is one of the first abilities we grow up with. It's something we're born with, actually. And yet we tend to forget how we learn. Oh, can I ask who gave a presentation based on the properties that made that deep learning you thought about? Can you raise your hand if you gave that presentation that way? One? Only Oliver. Okay, so that's interesting. So, let me think about it. So we all have a reference base of what makes our learning deep. We all have been learning our whole life. We know how we learn, and we could learn how others learn, and that's what's most important. So never forget that everybody knows how we learn best. Thank you.
So a short piece of news. You recall the two students from Helsinki who gave a speech yesterday. So those two and Carolina from Spain, together with Jordy, what we are launching today is that we are launching a youth ambassadors program and a youth academy, so that all votings will be made, will be joined by the youth academy and the youth ambassadors, and so on. So maybe Carolina from Spain, Jordy, you can briefly say, and Jordy has promised to be leading, starting this program, and you're going to be hearing more about this one in the future.
Well, I'm Carolina, I'm from Spain, and I'm so glad that I can be a part of a youth academy here in HundrED, because I feel like, as Jordy said, it's so important to have like the student voice heard. And I myself, I'm studying pedagogy now, so I'm becoming like this kind of weird territory in which I'm between, I'm still a student, but I'm learning how to be a teacher, so who I am exactly. So I have to take the most of it, and I think the Youth Academy will actually like help me not to lose my idea of a student, which I think it's the problem sometimes in education, that teachers, they just forgot that once they were students.
Yeah.
So, yeah, do you want to say something?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really excited to continue being a part of HundrED this way. It's pretty cool that we get to see all of the innovations before they are selected, and it's an honor. And it's a great way to stay connected with the organization, because it's so easy to forget about it. You come to the summit and then it's gone for a year, and then it comes again, and maybe you can or cannot come. And so it's a great way to continue with and support what HundrED believes in.
Okay, and thanks so much. And Jordy, now it's my time to negotiate.
Okay.
What goes around comes around, and so you have to be prepared. So Pukraj, can you stand up? Pukraj, and this happened on Wednesday, Pukraj, who is our head of community, she promised that we will be having 100 ambassadors in every country of the world by 2020, correct? And Jordy, you know what is coming. Are we having youth ambassadors at every country of the world by 2020?
Yes, we'll make it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.